That should be fine now. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on whatever part of the world that you're joining us from. We want to acknowledge all our listeners in the house. Thank you so much for making our time out of your restful Sunday to be here today. And I'm looking forward to the exciting storytelling learning session today, especially with our GIST guest speaker, who has a lot of amazing story to share with us. But before I start, I would just like to welcome everyone once again to this special occasion of my HR Storybook Live Series. It is a fun and learning platform where we use the concept of storytelling and speed mentoring to learn from the repositories of our guest speakers and participants in the house, because stories create a community where people can relate and learn practical life-proven skills. Storytelling is a powerful and beautiful art that creates connection. It evokes emotion and spurs action, because research has shown that where people share their stories, people can relate and then take their own lesson from it. So at our program today, my HR Storybook Live Series, we are looking forward to learning from the wealth of experience of our GIST guest. I don't want to use the word speaker, but I want to call him a GIST guest, because he's really not around those PowerPoint and all those HR principles and all of those. No, it's really around real life experiences. Without any further ado, I will quickly read the profile of our GIST guest speaker in the house this afternoon, Sheriff Popoola. I personally, I met Sheriff in 2005 thereabout when we were colleagues at HCDC. And he's been someone that has inspired me over the years in my career. And we had maintained a healthy relationship professionally since then. And he's someone that has contributed to my career as an individual. And it's someone I always look forward to hear him speak. Sheriff is loaded. And I'm sure that in the next few minutes, when I call him up, you can attest to that. So let me quickly read his profile. Sheriff Popoola is a commercially astute human resource professional with differentiated multifunctional experience across the entire HR value chain, such as business partnering, talent acquisition, management and retention, learning and development, employee advisory, organization effectiveness, performance management, rewards and recognition, HR policy design and interpretation, as well as employee well-being. He possesses exceeding capability in learning and galvanizing teams to achieving greater success. Sheriff currently leads the HR business partnering in addition to HR planning and talent management teams, sales business connections by proactively providing support that drives the delivery of set business objectives. I think for me, Sheriff, will be highlighting that part of your story where you are that linkage between HR and the various business units that you support in your organization. I'm looking forward to hearing those tips on how you've been able to successfully grow your business, grow people in that direction. So Sherry's 18 years multi-sector experience cuts across different industries, such as business consulting and advisory, aviation consulting, financial, that's banking, telecom sectors. He has played critical roles in setting up and nurturing of HR structures and recorded successful milestones across the various areas of the organizations that he has worked. He has bagged numerous awards, amongst which are the CEO Excellence Award. Wow, CEO Excellence Award. I mean, for you as an HR professional, to have been awarded a CEO's Excellence Award, that speaks volume. In the category of Best Team, a two-time winner, wow, of the EMTS Recognition Award. Sherry, you have to spill all those tips that has made you to win these amazing awards over the years. We want to learn from you today. I mean, his profile is so loaded. Sherry is an alumnus of the University of Wales, MBA, and University of Ilorin, where he backed a degree in economics with second-class upper and an active member of CIPM. He loves the round letter games, playing Pondry, loves to listen to good music. Since you love to listen to good music, Sherry, if you should come and do that booga dance for us after your session, please, so that we can also see you dance to good music and enjoy traveling. Sherry is a business startup enthusiast and an entrepreneur, and has passion for public speaking and marketing communication. Wow. Our guest speaker today is no other person but Sherry Popoola, who has an amazing career, and we are looking forward to hearing how he's grown over the years to the extent where he's been recognized for the CEO's Excellence Award. So Sherry, we would like to hear from you now. As you share with us, how did your career all started? I mean, have you always been in HR? What has kept you in HR, and where do you see the future of HR from your own personal perspective? So over to you, Sherif, you're welcome. Okay, Sherif, we can't see you.
Good afternoon, Lara. Can you see me now?
Good afternoon. We can't see you, Sherif. Is your camera on? I can
yes,
see
it is.
you.
Can you
like
hear
to
me?
See you.
Can you see me now?
Yes, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
All right. Can you see me now?
Not from my end,
now?
though.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Now we can
Your
see
video
you.
came on.
You're
and
welcome.
Then went off again.
Please go ahead.
All right.
I'm going to spotlight you now. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Lara. Thanks, Lara, for this opportunity, and thanks everyone for. It's gone off again. Oh wow. I've actually prayed against this, but I'm sure we'll be fine. So can you hear me, Lara?
Yes, we can see you now. Please go ahead.
All right. So I said thank you very much for inviting me, and thanks everyone for your time. I've kept quiet all the while listening to all the intros, and I was wondering maybe I should be the participant today and not the
no, not allowed.
I have no choice. I think I think I have to do this. All right. So I think I'll just summarize it by saying I've been in the corridors of HR for that number of years that you've highlighted. I had the opportunity to start up in a consulting company with the aviation buyers, and that was quite early, around 2004, 2005, thereabout. And what that gave me insight into how aviation consulting is all about. We had quite a number of projects that we did at the airport at that point in time around all the agencies. I left there and went to another consulting company, Irish Consulting, and that took me about another 2 years, thereabout. After Iris, that was when you and I worked together at HTDC. HTDC was a very short thing, it's not up to 2 years, thereabout. So, but it was quite eventful. Yeah, Laura, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, excellent. So then at HTDC, of course, we did quite a number of things together, and we're tutored by one of the great consultants in Mr. Lungi at that point in time. I had the opportunity to go to the banking industry after about a year plus, and in the banking industry, it was a case of actually sitting in to do quite a number of pragmatic things, and I worked quite across the different HR value chain in the banking industry as well. I worked in talent attraction, I worked in career development as well, I worked in L&D as well. I had the opportunity to be one of the youngest to also facilitate the training school. It's not done at that point in time. A third level employee, you can't get to the training school. But I thought they saw quite a number of things in me. So I had to take courses at the training school for the new hires. I was in the marketing industry for about 3 years there, about 3 years plus. And then an opportunity came for me in the telco space. And I went on to join Etisalat, now Nine Mobile. And Nine Mobile, I mean, it's been different. My colleagues down the call or those that will listen to this will tell you, it's been a total different experience. And I'm really grateful for it because joining Nine Mobile at that point in time, there was no HR structure in the North, and I was flung to the Northern region to start up the HR function. And this was me coming from the banking industry. And it means that, you have to be able to, be on top of your game to set up data structure. And I started because I realized that I have no choice. I've left home, I left my family. I have to be able to put things together. And I had to put data structure together in the North. I did that for a couple of years, worked across different areas. At a point, my portfolio was expanded, and no thanks to one of the participants that is here today. Called me one day and said, look, you need to be a few more responsibilities. And I had to, look at 19 states, including, other functions beyond just conventional business partnering. So it was a mixture of regional and HR business partnering. My primary responsibility was the technical team, which at that point in time barely had any core direction when it comes to people advisory and the like. So I did that and had to do additional in terms of having to look at 19 states. And when you look at 19 states, it means that you have to be on top of your game. So I did that for a couple of times, and then we had different management structures. And a couple of years back, about 4 years, we had a new management in place. And, I was leading a project, and, typical me is still doing my thing and believing that, okay, we just have responsibility to deliver on. And it was time for me to make my presentation for the team. I did the first time. And the second time, because it was a critical assignment for the organization at that point in time, we're trying to move away from the conventional managerial track, and we're trying to introduce what you call the expert track. And I was really passionate about it because it means that if we get it right, we'll be solving a major problem in the telco space and other areas in the industry where you have the flat structure things. And I'm really passionate about the expert track. But before now, nobody has implemented that in Nigeria. And top back of my mind was, if we get that together, we probably will be making a landmark change in the country. And this was me doing it with my team members, and had to make a presentation again, trying to convince executive management about the need for us to be able to go in that way. And lo and behold, at the end of that presentation, in the evening at about 6 o'clock, I got a call from the head of HR and says, you know what, I think I need you in Lagos. And I was like, sorry, I didn't get that. And said, I think you have to be in Lagos. You've done enough in the North. Go and think about it in the next couple of hours and, decide if you're going to do it or not. And, I was like, what is happening? I got back home, thought about it, spoke to a few people. I said, okay, let me give myself a few more days to think about it. And the following day, he called me and said, so are you in Lagos tomorrow? And I said, sorry, I thought you said I should go and think about it. And he said, no, you have to be in Lagos. And that was it. And I had the opportunity to move to Lagos and took up another responsibility that now, gave me more functions to look at, and at a critical time in the organization. And I've had to support my colleagues across different HR value chain and support the business as well. Our size of business over 1,000 employees, and in an environment that is fast-paced, and that you need to come up with quite a number of initiatives to be able to deliver on. So that's been my trajectory all the while. I'm sure as we go on, a couple of other ideas will come as well. Lara.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow. Only you, 19 states. So you posted on the chat group that's over half of the country, and you had to oversee 19 states. Wow. Thank you so much, Sherry, for sharing that. I mean, when you mentioned that you were the youngest in the training school, I wanted to ask you, I mean, what gave the business that confidence to allow you as the youngest in the department to manage and lead the training school? That's one. And how did you maneuver through that period? I'm sure you might at some point might be thinking, oh, I don't have the right competence, I don't have the right experience for this. How am I going to, run and manage the trainings? But do you want to share a bit on that with us?
All right, excellent. I like to share that. Okay, so let me give you a bit of insight. When I was in consulting, of course, typical consulting where you provide learning solutions to different clients. At that point in time, that was when David Goleman just came up with his definitive idea about emotional intelligence. And, I was managing the financial sector and the banking sector as a young consultant. But my partner, the partner of the organization at that point called me and said, you know what, I think we're paying so much money for people that are coming to take emotional intelligence. And then we had a structure in Irish Consulting then that if you take a class, right, for any organization, whether it's banking, whether it's financial, whether it's manufacturing, you would be able to earn extra money based on the feedback that you get. So what that means is if you go take a class for, say, flour mills or take a class for UAC, at the end of the class, they will take a look at your evaluation and you can get extra person will get. So it was a case of challenging us and giving us that responsibility to be able to develop ourselves, and I took it on. Emotional intelligence was quite new at that point in time, and it was a case of where am I going to be, how am I going to be able to do it? But I immersed myself into it, and I began to take EQ gradually for Irish Consulting at that point in time. So when I got into the bank, there was no model around emotional intelligence. So one day when we're talking in the meeting, I said to them, I said, look, we probably can have this module and it will help our management trainee, and that would help them to be able to understand those concepts. That's one. And there are quite a number of things around organization development so that I think we can be able to. And that was the idea of HR. So one, develop a module and let us see. And I did. The question was who was going to take it? And then the HR said, okay, young man, go in there, go to the training school in Surulere, and then let's see what you do. But you know how banking is. It's a rule. You probably can't go to training school until you're like a deputy manager or a manager. You can't. If you're a BU, you probably will have to struggle to be able to, except you're exceptionally very good. So I did it, and me with butterflies in my tummy. I went to training school in Surulere. I was like, I hope this went well. By the time the evaluation came back, he called me into him and said, you know what? You are going to be taking more than Surulere. You have to begin to travel out of Lagos to go for this training. So I think what actually gave that to me was what I was going to be talking about today, about looking at a particular area where you probably can have a niche for yourself. Because at that point in time, I listened to meetings and I realized that there was nothing emotional intelligence. So it would just be good for me to introduce that. And I thought that was what broke the rule at that point in time. That gave me the opportunity to go to training school. And then I had to go across the country to be able to, take our colleagues that, and I guess it was what I learned from the consulting company and the ability for me to be able to identify that there was a need in that space for us as a bank to be able to instill that in our trainings and across our experience. Lara?
Thanks so much, Sherry, for sharing that insight with us. I mean, when you were talking about identifying a niche area for yourself and then sharing the benefits, the value with the business, a question came to my mind around the fact that sometimes HR professionals complain that they come up with initiatives for the business and then the business tosses them away and say, no, that's not what we need right now. But how were you able to navigate through that specific area where we're able to convince your stakeholders in accepting and embracing the development of the EQ model across the business?
Thank you. I guess again it's a case of understanding how to be different, and more often than not it's looking at what is there that is not available, something new. For me, if you do not create that niche for yourself, and I'm not saying the niche will happen overnight, it's a matter of taking it one step at a time. At that point in time, I knew it was the conventional etiquette training, the conventional banking operations training, the conventional whatever you need to do for entrepreneurship and the rest of it. But I realized that there is that new thing, and that's what I leveraged on. And over time, that has been my methodology. I'll give you a case in my current organization. When I went to Abuja to take up the responsibility, I realized that there were comments around, oh, this guy from the banking sector, would this guy be able to make a difference? All right. And I told myself, the way to make a difference is not to only understand the business, but I have to be a strategic positioner. And being a strategic positioner, I need to understand what these guys do. So the question for me is, so why do I do that? I studied economics. How am I going to be able to understand this connectivity that these guys have? It meant that I had to use the same stakeholders to understand those specifics around what it takes to be able to make a call, just to make a call. There are so many processes in making a call. And I'm not saying I'm going to be able to make much in terms of changing the methodology. That's there for the engineers to do. But I need to meet them at the point where I understand what it takes to make that call. If I do understand what it takes to make that call, then I can provide the right support. If I understand that this technology moves across different strata, then I can be able to make that support that they do, and I can give them that support that they require. If I understand that there's evolution in what our business is about, then I can provide a support. That's on the technical side. Talk about the rest in the 18 locations where you've got sales, where you've got marketing, you've got IT, you've got enterprise business, you've got channel sales business, you've got retail. So if I'm talking to my marketing person, I need to understand what are those core KPIs this person is looking at. So if I'm talking to a marketing person first, I'm talking to my channel sales person. If I'm not talking about things around what are you looking at in terms of your gross margins, what are you looking at in terms of your churn rate, for instance, what are you looking at in terms of your gross ads, for instance, what are those things that is driving your revenue, for instance, then how can I provide the support? If I'm not looking at that as well for my enterprise person that is looking at, things around cloud solution, things around selling those basic solutions that they have, or where they need to monetize their fiber infrastructure, I'm talking about APN and URL and how they can be able to provide that support, then how do I provide support for the person? I probably can't do that. If I'm talking to the finance person and I basically can't even understand what it is what are the elements in an income statement, for instance, I can't provide the support. If I don't understand what is EBITDA, for instance, for a finance person, I can't provide the support. So what it then means for me is I have to tell myself, you know what, for you to survive in this environment, you need to go and take a look at the whole process again and be you, all right? And in being you, you do not have to understand the business alone. You have to be able to be a strategic positioner to make that influence. And that's what has worked for me all the way around.
Wow, that is so deep. Thank you so much. That is so deep. So what you had shared with us in summary is the need for us to understand our business and strategically position ourselves. And when we have good understanding of our business, we understand good understanding of our business financials, and we're able to communicate and connect, then we can be strategic positioners within the business. So that takes me to my next question. Our audience will have a mix of young, mid-level, and then senior people within our midst. For younger people, how would you say that they can begin to strategically position themselves within the business and as young HR professionals?
All right. Now, for me, right, it's about, and I'll give, some fundamentals. First of all, when you do stuff like this, you have to be yourself. That's the first thing. You have to be yourself. All right. And you can then put on top of that and say, I want to be distinct in anything I need to do. And in addition to that, I want to be new always. And then we can talk about the other three, but let's focus on being you, being distinct, and being new always. For young lads, I passed through that before. It is identifying, just like I did in the banking industry. It's about identifying specific areas. So let's be more pragmatic. I work in an environment where maybe is a owner-led environment, or even not an owner-led environment. So you've got areas where things are not done, in code the right way, and you take it and you come in. It's very straightforward. You need to look at specific areas of the HR value chain. I'll tell you what, every business owner today wants something new. Every business owner today wants something different. Every business owner today, whatever you take a look at, wants results. So if every business owner likes or wants something new, every business owner wants or likes something that is about results, then it's very simple. So I'll take a look at those areas of HR value chain where in our team has nothing been done of late that is new. So whether it's our reporting, whether it's analytics, for instance, what do I need to do to be able to make that change? All right? Whether it's our recruitment or talent acquisition or attraction or whatever it is, what do I need to do to make that change? Whether it's our performance management, because again, in that kind of environment, you'll probably be looking at things around performance monitoring and performance management. What can I do that is new that I'll put on the table? And I tell everybody, there's a need for you to do something new every time. Yes, we know that people say don't reinvent the wheel. We get that. But the rule of the game is you need to look back every year if you want to start that way. And if you've pushed it very hard, you need to look back every 6 months. What is the new thing that I've done? I'm sure you can ask my colleagues. You must record something for yourself every year that have I done something new? And if you want to push it, you can say, I want to do something new every 6 months. And what that means is you need to continuously tune it. So for our young lads, it's about challenging yourself. It's about doing something new. There is no how today that I sit with my line manager, or I sit with the business leader, and I'm saying, all right, we'll do this way. But I'm thinking that why not let's look at this way? And I'm taking an element of the HR value chain to say, I think we can look at analytics this way. Or I think we can do our recruitment this way. Or I think we can challenge our performance management structure this way and do it this way. There's no harm that you do. There's no harm that you do that you not become a strategic positioner. There's no harm that you
Sheriff, you're back. Hello, Sheriff.
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I think it was,
okay.
Can you hear me now? So there's no harm you do that you can't make that difference. So what I'm summarizing is that it's not going to happen over time, but it's about the regular thing they say. You have to be deliberate about it. You have to tell yourself, this is the direction I'm going to go. And then I want to see that difference. Lara, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Sheriff.
All right. Hello, Lara.
Hello, Sheriff, I can hear you.
All right, I can hear you. So that's it for me. And that's what I would advise our young lads.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So what I hear, thank you, Toyin, for summarizing that is continuous learning, especially for young people. I also hear continuous value creation. So the value you gave 6 months ago might have been out of use in the next 6 months. So there's need for us to continuously learn so that we can give continue to give value within our business.
Absolutely.
Yes. Another thing that also jumps out at me as you were talking is critical thinking. So it's not getting complacent with the norm, but continuously seeking for areas to provide solution within the business. As talent within organization, businesses hire talent to solve problems, and there are always problems. So it's just for us to have that open mindset to continue to learn and solve problems for our business so that we continue to give and chunk out value to our organization. Wow.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Sheriff. That was so deep. Okay, Sheriff, can you hear me? You're frozen. Hello?
Can hear you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, thanks. Oh, okay, great. Thank you. So it's being deliberate about it. So I have a question on the chat box from Matthew. It reads, what were your strategies used to manage and deliver in those 19 states that you had to oversee at some point in your career?
Okay, all right. If I try to look at the people of the participants I have here today, I think I have one of them that worked with me in the team. And
Sheriff, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now, Lara? I can't hear you. Hello, Lara.
I guess the network. Okay. Hi, Sheriff. We can.
Lara, can you hear me now? Hello, Lara. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right. Someone say you can hear both of us. All right. Okay. So 19 states, quite peculiar. One, I told you, was understanding what those guys do. And that's the first thing. So it means that because I connect with them at different levels and I speak their language, when we sit at the table, I can influence the decision. I tell you a quick story. I was listening to Dave Ulrich one day, right? And he says that, you know, he had a friend that just took up an HR role. And the person went for a meeting. And the first meeting was talking about, you know, business financing. How do you do your financial structure, your debt ratio, and the rest of it. And at the end of the meeting, you know what the lady said? She said, oh, I learned a lot. And then the second time was talking about, you know, business strategy. Business strategy focusing things around how they will be able to expand to new markets, what they need to do, whether it's, you know, out of the country and all of that. And at the end of the meeting, she said, I learned a lot. All right. And the third meeting was talking about, there was another thing they were talking about. At the end of it, she also said, I learned a lot. You know what happened? At the fourth meeting, they didn't invite her. Because the first three meetings, it was a case of, I learned a lot, I learned a lot, I learned a lot, but nothing was dropped on the table. So for me, once I can connect with you at that level of what you do, then when we have decision, when we sit down, I probably can influence you in terms of how things could be done. So I don't need to sit in the 19 states. What I then need to do is to be able to provide that strategic direction, okay? And once I brought that strategic direction, I can tell you how best you can do your business in Yobe and Jigawa, for instance. I can tell you that, okay, my degree is looking like this. I think you can do this and do that because I'm looking at your figures and I know that, okay, for you as a channel salesperson, this is what I think would help you. There's no how you're going to hear that from me. If you're not going to take 100%, you would understand that what this person is talking about makes a lot of sense. And I'm also able, for my channel salesperson, I understand and I know the names of your dealers. So if I don't understand how you get your what's it called, how you do your daily interactions, I can connect it to you in terms of, oh, so how is How is this person doing? How is Easy doing today? How is Shaributu doing? I saw the result of Shaributu last month and I think he's done better and all of that. At that point, you understand the fact that, okay, you know what? If we don't involve Sheriff in our interaction, we're not going anywhere. And I'm quite also close to your reporting. I can analyze your report. And when I'm having discussions with you, I can do quick checking. I say, I looked at your report and I'm thinking, this is what will happen to your people. This is what you need to do and all of that. It's about that subtle influence. It's about that letting you know that, look, you run the show, but mine is able to provide that support. And above all, the guys that work with me also have that freedom to be able to be themselves. Allow them make their mistakes and then correct them so that at least we can add value. Because sometimes there is no idea that is stupid. Those stupid ideas can be the saving grace. So those were the things I deployed managing the 19 states. Apparently, of course, is not exhaustive, but at least those were the insights. Lara?
Yeah. Wow, thank you so much. Thanks. Thanks, Sheyi Ogunride states in the chat room. Understand the language of your business. Understand what your business do so you can influence decision. And that means a lot, because a lot of times we HR professionals, we sometimes get carried away with HR initiative that does not drive the overall business objectives. We just say, oh, we need to do this in HR, but we are not able to link what we are doing to the overall business goal. And so it's really critical that we need to understand our business. Whatever initiatives we are coming up with, it's not just going to be another HR activity where we are checking the box, but we can relate it to our business. Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sherry, for that. I'd like you to share in your career journey, has there been any low moments that you had at some point in your career, and how did you overcome the low moments? Any regrets, any mistakes? What are the key learnings that you had from your mistakes?
All right. Of course, I can't say I've worked on water. It's not possible, right? You would have had some issues sometimes. And I'll give very, very direct examples.
Okay, Sherry, if we can't hear you, I think your network bandwidth is quite low at this moment.
Can you hear me now? Okay, just a second. Let me try and see what I can. Let me do a switch.
Sherry, did you hear my question? Oh, I think we lost Sherry's connection.
No, he excused himself for 1 second to be able to adjust his network or something.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed
Lara,
that.
Can you hear me? I can see notes about people saying they can't hear me. Can you hear me now, Lara?
I can hear you.
Yeah, all right.
Yes,
so we'll just manage
it.
It's...
Did you hear my question?
All right, so
yes.
Yeah, I did. I got your question. Can you hear me, Lara?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me, right? Can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, excellent. I said that I probably can't tell you that I've worked on water, right? There's been some low moments, but I'll give you an example. I worked, and I'll use the Abuja experience as well. I worked with about 3 expatriates, and I found out that one of them always believed that, oh, whatever views I come up with, is not just hard enough. All right. So each time I have that meeting, it's about, oh no, I don't think this is right and all of that. And somehow, some way, you have to speak to my line manager. And thank God for that line manager today. When he was giving me that feedback, he didn't go all over. He just said, Sheriff, I think you need to deepen your advisory for this person. And you know what that meant? What that meant for me was a challenge. It means that if I do understand the other areas, I have to be able to understand this person's idiosyncrasy. all right, make this person my fan. And I've always tell people sometimes you can make not only your stakeholder your fan, you can make your manager your fan. I mean, your raving fan. That there's nowhere the person goes to, he's talking about Lara, he's talking about Sheyi, he's talking about Dupe and all of that. You have to make your stakeholders your raving fans, the same way you try to do your customers and all of that. And I then give myself an extra focus for that team. One Saturday, I sat back in the office, took a look at the team all over, and decided to pick specific areas that I think the team needs to look at. I didn't even do that for the other teams. I just figured that, you know, for this team, I need to prove to this person that I have to improve. And I did that. And I did it across all the streets. I wasn't looking at recruitment alone. I wasn't looking at development alone. I did it like a town paper. And I sent him an email and said, look, I've taken a look at your team. If you don't mind, we can have some level of, you know, discussion. So I can block your diary if you want. And the guy thought I was joking because I listed out quite a number of things that needed to be done. And grudgingly, one day, that's okay, they come over to my office, we can do it. And that was where it started to change. Because perhaps he thought that I wasn't looking at it, or maybe I had not done extra work on it. He challenged me to do the extra. And you know what that did for me? I replicated the same model for the other functions in the business. That before I even left Abuja, those business leaders cannot go to meetings until they have a first level meeting with me. And that model became my reference point. That model became what they use. So if they want to have any conversation with the CTO, they'll say, okay, what do you think about this and all of that? And that helped me. So for me, it's about turning those weaknesses into strengths. It's about not wallowing on those weaknesses, but looking at what can I do better to help myself. And that's what has helped me. Lara? You're muted, Lara.
All right, thank you so much. So what I hear you say is, one, being aware of your area of weakness and seeing it as an area of opportunity. Accepting, yes, you accept your weakness and then you deliberately work towards it. So turning your weakness into strength. And for a couple of people, I mean, it might be easy for you because your experience, especially given your earlier share on emotional intelligence and how you've been able to master yourself. But some people might not really be able to turn their weakness to strength. Some even believe that your weakness is your weakness. It can't even turn to your strength. But what you need to do is to manage your weakness. But I believe what you've equally shared around accepting it, owning it, and then taking a decision to work on your area of weakness is really important as you grow in your career journey in managing people. Wow, thank you so much, Sherry, for that. Whilst you were talking, I mean, something also jumped out to me is in the area of building trust, building trust within the business. Given a topic that we're focusing on, which is HR professionals should dare to be different, I think it's really critical that for us to, one of the fundamental things we need to do is to build trust within our organization.
Absolutely.
So what has been your experience around trust within the organization, trust with your people, trust with your customer? Like you shared, you've even gone a step further to build relationship with your customers outside, your organization, your people. So how have you been able to develop trust over the years in your career?
All right, it's a delicate area, to be honest, Lara. It's I must tell you that over time, if you think your trust threshold in terms of what you have with the different areas got into maximum, then you are in for it. Again, I will use my experience. For me, empathy is key. Empathy is key. And you have different scenarios that people just want to talk. People just want to be able to express themselves. You might not even provide the solution, but do you have that listening capacity to be able to, and I'm taking this on the foundation of that you've connected with them in terms of the different functions that they're doing. I'm taking that for granted, yeah? Because if you don't understand what they do, they probably would not even say, look, they say, look, this man that is from the bank, we don't know what we're talking about. So empathy is very key. And I'm very conscious about empathy and not sympathy. So I should be able to tell you as it is, but I should listen to you. I've got different scenarios in work environment today that people have shared different stories with me. So you go on every day hearing about 4 or 5 different stories, and your ability as an HR person to keep that confidential is very key. Your ability as an HR person to be able to offer advisory, it's very important. Because today, people go through a lot. You see people come to work every day, they wear their suit, they wear their nice stuff, they've got their nice perfumes and all of that, but they're going through a lot. So are you there to be able to listen? And I'm not saying you have to be snooping around to look for that, no. Because your ability to provide that listening here and empathy goes a long way. That's number one. Because once they see you as that, then it becomes easy for someone to walk into your office. I've got people come to my office that they just want to cry. They just want to come and just cry. They just want to cry. That's what they want to do. And when you hear their story, you're asking yourself, oh, I need to thank God for my life. So first off, empathy is very key. That's number one. Number two is you need to continuously build on that relationship. So it's not a case of, oh, Lara came to me and had this conversation, and then tomorrow I'm not checking back and finding out what it is. When I hear people's story and you probably can't build on that relationship, it becomes a bit difficult. And I'm saying I'm not saying jump into it and ask for it. You should be able to follow up and understand that, oh, this is it. All right? And the third thing is not to indulge people all the time. It's a case of this is what you need to do, how do you need to do it? So the person can see you and say, you know what, when I need to cry, the person can listen to me. I've got a good relationship with this person. And when I need to hear it straight as it is, exactly, balance, so to speak. And that's it. On your foundation of understanding it, you can use those 3 elements and then continue to be able to offer that. As HR people, everybody believes that you can do everything. In some cases, they don't even want to thank you for what they've asked you to do. But your ability to be able to offer that is what is important. And finally, confidentiality is very key. Confidentiality is very key. And I'm not saying that confidentiality on paper, confidentiality that if they put a knife on your neck, what is peculiar to Lara is not peculiar to Shola. Nobody hears that. The highest you can do is to use the substance in terms of whatever story you've heard to advise the other person. But Shola and Lara would never, even though they are close as a friend, I found myself in situations where 2, 3 people in the same department are telling me different stories, and no one of them must know. But you must be able to offer that. Once they can check and understand that, one, you are empathic, you can listen, you can build a relationship, you can tell them as it is when it needs to be, and they know that their story stays with you. That's it. Trust. And again, I'm assuming that this is based on the fact that you understand your space, you understand your environment, you understand that business, and then you can build up on that. Well, you are muted, actually.
Well, thank you so much, Sheriff. So the 4 key things you've shared is empathy, listening, don't indulge. There's a need for us to bring balance, and of course, confidentiality. Thank you so much. Wow. I don't know, do we have any questions from any of our listeners? Anyone wants to go off mute and ask your questions or share your thoughts so we can also learn from our participants? Thank you, Dr. Benedicta, or my sisters in the house. Dr. Benedicta is my accountability partner. I am so proud of her, and I'm going to always, whenever she's around, I'm going to show her off to the world so that people can know how blessed I am with amazing people. Thanks, Dr. Benedicta. Your comment reads, thanks, Sheriff. It's important also to know the needs of your individual stakeholders, understand what's most important to them, ensure you tailor your solutions to their needs. Thank you. Thank you.
Precisely.
Thank you. We have another question from Matthew. How did you manage different interests of your stakeholders across your various locations? I think this also still speaks to the period where you had to manage multiple locations, and how were you able to speak to their various interests?
Okay, all right. You know, this is something that will continue in our career. As I speak, you know, working in HQ, it's even bigger than what I noticed in 19 states, because now you're dealing with, you know, C-suits and their interests. Again, simple rules. For me, hello, Lara, are you there?
Yes, Sheriff, I can hear you.
Okay, so for me, simple rules. Your ability to be able to cut across.
Sorry, Sheriff, you're muted.
I can hear you now. I can hear you.
Okay,
I've unmuted myself.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
All right, all right. So interest will always be there, right? But you know the typical thing they talk about, ability for you to understand how to play between A and B and C and D. Because the reality is, at different levels, those interests would have their set targets, all right? So for instance, I'm talking to somebody in another unit, for instance. I already know that, you know what, this is where this is going. So first off is the fundamental interest of the organization is an overriding target. The fundamental interest for the interest of the organization is the overriding target. That's the first thing. Two, you know that these line managers also have their own permutation. So your ability to also hear them out and provide your own views around whether this is supposed to support or not. I've seen situations where I noticed that, oh, if I listen to this CXO, I know where this person is going, all right? And I know that there's no way for the life of me that this is going to see the road through. I will listen to you. I'm not going to interject. I'll allow you to do what you're talking, because people like to be listened to. That's one thing people like. They want to be heard. They want to talk, right? And I would not be combative, because the moment you're combative is a case of, oh, HR, even though you say the nicest of things, the best thing, they say, look, HR is like that. So first is, I will listen to you, all right? But I'll let you understand organization that supersedes. That's one. Two, diplomacy is also very key. Your ability to tell people no, and they will not realize you told them no until they've left you. Yeah? That's also very important. Yeah? Because if you don't do that, what happens all the time is one person is talking to you and is asking 4 or 5 different people. So they want something in HR, for instance, they've spoken to A, they've spoken to B, they've spoken to C, they've spoken to D. And that happens over time. Someone can call, I've been in situations where someone called a colleague of mine and called me as well and called the third person, same question. All right? So first is, I let you understand that yes, we take care of the people, but this is the interest of the organization. Two, diplomacy is very key. I would not come out like, but I would just nicely engage you. And then lastly is, I always tend to give options. Options would help, because what that does is someone may have not thought about that before, and your ability to look at it differently might help you. So those are my 3 possibilities. One is, I would as much as possible let you know what it is. 2, deploy diplomacy. And 3, is I would always look for options for you. I've started with my colleagues and they make jest of the fact that, you know, when you talk to him, is a wave. You know, there'll always be something that will always come out and all of that. And that's what that has helped.
Awesome. Thank
Lara,
you,
are you
Sheriff.
there?
Thank you so much. Yes, I can. I'm here. Can you hear me? I'm here, Sheriff.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, great. Yeah. So we
Yes, I
have
can hear you loud and
Dorcas.
clear.
Dorcas Sabis. Yes, Dorcas Sabis, your hand is up. Can you please unmute and share?
Okay, thank you, Lara. Hello, Mr. Sherry. Thank you so much. It's really been insightful. I have a practical question. That's why I thought to raise my hand instead of typing. Very
Nice,
practical.
yes.
Right.
Like I want to hear what you would do. So you have two friends in a unit and some very good friends. One makes it to managerial level. And as soon as that one makes it to becoming a manager, it becomes a problem. Now you always have this, you know, the other one who is not the manager is always coming to say, oh, I think she's picking on me. I think she's victimizing me. And then the manager is coming to say to you, oh, no, the people know she's my friend. So I have to tell her to do this. And I have to make sure that she's always a scapegoat if she's not doing it. So that's going around. So it now becomes a case of, oh, if you're not doing it, it's not mostly a case of the friend is wrong, but the manager feels the need to, you know, do, like, should I say a show of authority or a show of, you know, enforcing, you know, the rule in the department by making sure that her friend, quote and unquote, is always in check by, you know, picking her as either a scapegoat or whatever it is, even if she, you know, she's wrong in the tiniest bit. Okay, I had two options. Do you suggest that, because it becomes tiring at a point, do you suggest that if there's an option of them being separated as, you know, take one person out of this department and change them? Or do you insist that they look inward and look for a way to work together? Because it really becomes dramatic when, when, you know, this one is sending you an email, the next minute that one is calling you over very serious work issues, but they just seem to not be able to find the balance to work together anymore. So what is the practical thing, and I mean a permanent solution to something like that? Thank you.
All right. You see, I was smiling when you were talking about this, because it's what we go through every day, particularly in infrastructure.
Yes.
You go through that every day. All right. Okay, first off, let's talk about what approach you want to do from the organization. It'll be better to always have some sort of intervention for new hires, new people that have gotten higher responsibilities, right? You must have that intervention for everybody. If you've not done that, you probably will look inward and do that. You can take that up yourself and help people. So people that have gotten new roles, they need to understand that they've transited. That's the first thing. So now let's go pragmatic. I find myself in that situation. But what do? You need to talk to the leader, the person that just become the manager, whatever it is, that respect, right, is not requested. It is earned. And that speaks in the quality of our leadership. She can't force her way through. It's difficult. Because this person is your friend, you won't quickly change it and say, oh, I'm the new boss here. It will not work. Because the person will continue. Hello?
Okay, Sharif, we lost you for a few seconds. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so speak to that person that is a new leader to say, look, you can't force it. Respect is not requested. You have to earn it. That's the first thing that the person needs to know. So if she's asking her friend to do a few things, that has to be done professionally. And if the person makes mistake, then he or she needs to begin to show to the person that is supervising that, okay, this is what I think you should do, this is how I think we should do it, and all of that. It is until those things are done that you begin to understand that there is a need for, and the other person understand that, look, this is my line manager, I need to understand it. I need to be able to respect this person. I need to be able to listen to this person. And you can say that is one way to look at it. What about if the person decides not to even listen? What about if the person decides not to even give the respect? That is when you want to do a different approach. That is when you want to be able to put your feet down. But human beings are quite emotional. Human beings are people that more often than not, at the back of their mind, they play it. It's like you send this one and say, I'm going home at 4 p.m. If you send that to 5 different people, they can interpret I'm going home at 4 p.m. in different ways. So you need to first of all understand that and let the person know that, look, this is the way to go. And as a leader, you also need to challenge yourself and show direction and lead. And that is why you're the leader. Because the person needs to see that my friend is now my manager and is providing that leadership. Then that person can be your fan. I talked about it the other time. You need to make your colleagues, your customers, internal and external, your raving fans. That is when the person will begin to say, oh, you know what? I think what Tayo is saying is correct. And I have to begin to do that. Point number 2. And then 3, you check in on them from time to time. If you separate them today and say, go to different departments, you've not solved the problem because it's still there. The person tomorrow can find him or herself in that situation and not deal with it. I found myself in a situation where my friends are people I supervise. I found my friends whereby my colleagues who competed for the same role and I have to supervise them, but they're my friends. And I have to give them that respect first before they now reciprocate and give me that respect. And I'll continue to show leadership. I'll continue to show the direction for them. I'll continue to also respect them, and then they can respect you. All right? So I think that is what you need to do. So first off, go and speak to that person and tell the person, Madam, you are now the Oga, right? Your respect will come, but you also need to show that understanding and that direction. And that's when, if that doesn't work in that way and the person is not showing it, then it's a different thing altogether. I hope that works, but we can still talk, Dorcas.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. I just to add to that, I also have a similar story, 2 similar stories actually. So there's a very close friend of mine that I became her manager, not just her immediate level manager, but 2 levels.
Second level.
Yeah, second level manager. And when I was going to take on the role, the initial thought was how are we going to work together? But one thing I ensured I did when I, started leading her as a second level manager was I ensured our relationship was very official. So I don't talk about personal stuff while at work. That's one. And I applied a lot of empathy, and I kept saying to her that, babe, I call her babe, we are here to work together. So let's make this work. And it wasn't just only in my talking to her about it, but in my actions and how I was leading her. I was leading her with so much respect, even though she was 2 levels below me. My conversations with her ensured I was very respectful, I acknowledged her, her role. Yes. And I came across as someone who came to help her. And guess what? Today we have the best of relationship at work. Absolutely. Even though I'm 2 levels, ahead of her, and she grew, she learned, she grew, and she got her promotion, even though I'm still more senior to her in the business. So for me, it was I getting my intentions right first to say, I'm not here to drag anything with you. We're here to make the work, happen, but it has to be in a collaborative way. I ensured I applied a high dose of empathy and emotional intelligence and respect as well. The flip side of it is I also had another relationship with another friend in the workplace that isn't going the right way. Did I use the same approach? No. So we need to understand the situation and the best approach to apply for that situation. The other bit was it's a peer-to-peer relationship. And I realized that despite the fact that it's a peer-to-peer relationship, we are not giving the best of ourselves at work. What I ensured I did was all our interactions, communication remain strictly official. So there is no chitty-tatty or anything, strictly official, and ensured open communication, right? While we're at work, we are discussing work, and we've kept it at work. Communications, if there are gaps, open communication. And I ensured I started involving our line manager as well. So that way it puts both of us in check, and we are both accountable. We are not sending me any rude email because our line manager is in copy, right? So we need to look at the situation and apply the best approach to it. But like Sharif said, communication is really important. Respect is really important. You might have to speak to both of them and tell them that they have to make it work. If they need any support in managing their emotions, because if they are friends, it could be deep, way deeper than you are aware of. So there might be some form of ego and all of that, but just keep telling them that this has to work and they have to be professional at all times. If it doesn't work, then you apply the necessary consequence measures in line with your organization policy. I hope that helps, Dorcas.
Yes, thank you so much, Lara.
Okay, thank you. A couple of comments. Oops, we are past our we are past our 1 hour mark. Thank you so much, everyone, for your comments. A lot of comments in the chat box. Thank you. Matthew states the employee must also understand that the baton and relationship has changed. Yes, so Matthew equally wrote, the manager must show fairness and truthfulness in his decision and instructions to him, otherwise it becomes a thing of victimization. Thank you, Abimbola. I have to leave now. Oh, thank you. Thanks so much, sis, for joining us. Thank you. Thanks. Ogun Tokun states, as a leader, you need to show direction. Nkechi states, this situation can be draining, and I can totally relate with that. It can really be draining. We have a quick question from Kemi Popoola. How do you manage insubordination in the workplace? And after that, please, can you quickly take this question from LF? Is also, okay, I can confirm that Sharif is a king of diplomacy. Oh, okay, I think this is just a comment to your earlier response. He's also able to effect culture change. So the question I'd like you to add to the question from Kemi Popoola is, how do you manage stubborn team members resisting change in corporate behavior without impacting satisfaction level? So I'd like you to take those two questions quickly. Thank you.
All right. Insubordination, first off, is to find what the root of what's causing the insubordination. That's the first thing you need to do. What's causing the root? Because sometimes you probably have that solution in your hand and you're not, helping the person. It could be this case we're talking about. The person is not even seeing you as a line manager, right? So first thing is to understand what is causing that. It could be home, it could be office, it could be anything. Once you understand that, you can then tell yourself, okay, this is what I need to do. This is the next direction I need to put across. And in some cases, even though if you understood that the person needs support or needs help or needs some level of advisory, and the person is becoming recalcitrant, we must also develop the balls to take that call. And that's what I tell people. Work environment is supposed to be an environment where you come to do your work, we're best of friends, we become family, I use my 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 and all of that. But at the same time, we must also check ourselves. But for me, I'll keep it simple and straight. Check what it is that is the root of the problem. If it is emotional, if it is the person decides to do whatever the person wants to do, or the person does feel there's no respect, you probably can look at it in those ways and help the person. The person decides not to even show anything and decides to just be one of those other ones, then you should be able to decide and make the calls in terms of align the person, follow the process that is required. There's only that is done that you can set those examples. But that's not always the first step. You want to be able to provide some level of intervention that would help the person find its or her path before you now say, you know what, I think I have to throw this thing out of the window and come up with the hard way. So that's what I would suggest as my two comment.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Sharif. I don't think
Okay,
I'm
go
really
ahead.
clear on what he was advising. I didn't get the major points on how to control insubordination. I didn't get it.
Oh, okay. Sure, if you want to take that again.
So what I'm saying is that first off, so let's use the last example that Dorcas gave. In that one, the lady was not working well with a line manager, all right? So first off is to find out what is causing the insubordination. If it's that kind of case that we had before, it's a case of the person is not seeing you as his or her line manager. So first is to provide that level of respect and don't force yourself on that person. That's an example. If it's not that, and you find that the person has some level of emotional issues and all of that, you steer the person in the direction that will help the person correct that. If you think is a capability issue, you help the person with that. If you think it's a competency or whatever issues, you help the person with that within some short time frame, okay? But once you are able to deploy whatever intervention across 3 or 4 of those points, then it is easy to now tell the person, I've helped you. I find out that you don't respect me. Between that level of respect, we'll manage ourselves or decide to be recalcitrant. At this point, I'm going the other way. All right? If it's emotional, you speak to the person, you provide, let the person see experts or whatever you want the person to do. If the person is not changing, then you change your own approach. All right? If it's any other thing that you require, sometimes people come to work with so many drama. And some people are not able to drop own problem at the door. And that's why you speak to someone in the office, just one line to say, oh, sorry, I'm not sure this is the right report I'm looking for. Could you help me? And the person goes off. So if you don't find the root of the challenge, you can't provide a solution. And it is not that you must be the person that would be able to, you can help the person seek help. You can steer the person in the right direction to seek help so that you can help yourself. Because once you help the person, then you can help yourself. So first off is identifying what the challenge is. Once you identify the challenge, you can provide the solution. And remember, like I said, it is not that you must be the one that will have the solution, but you also can consult and say, I'm having this challenge at work. Who can this person talk to? What can this person see a counselor? Can this person do X, Y, Z? But if you've done all of that, and the person is deciding to be one of those other one, then like Lara said the other time, you also need to be able to be firm to make the right calls. That is why you are a leader. Those calls must be made when it's time to make them. I hope that clarifies.
Yeah.
Lara?
Yeah. Thank you. Toluwani Adekunle, I hope that clarifies for you. Thank you. What I also hear you say is address the issue, not the person, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll take one last question from the house, from Olayinka Falade. Mr. Popoola, how can HR manage key stakeholders whose behaviors have the capacity to hurt the business, especially when they are doing it intentionally? E.g., I've seen stakeholders taking decisions that impact heavily on cost just to flex their ego against another stakeholder who once took a similar decision. The problem is when those behaviors continue, they are reinforced throughout the company. What's your take on this?
All right. First off is HR needs to understand what is the reason or what is causing the people to behave that way. All right. We've had a case during this pandemic that we had some line managers flouting the rules. All right. Clear rules, and because of work from home and the rest of it, they were flouting the rules. Okay. So you need to first of all understand where that is coming from. Once you realize that this is negating against those fundamental issues, those fundamental rules of the organization, then HR must be seen to make those calls. Don't be afraid to make those calls, to be honest. That's the reality. And that is why it's always advisable to say, first, you need to understand. Because if you seek to understand, then you will be understood. That's what Stephen Covey says. But you just can't go the highway and say, oh, these guys are whatever. You are not understanding. You're just, boom, this has to happen. But first is to understand what is leading to this. And don't be scared to say, oh, this person has a very senior level. You must be seen to provide that. And I'm hoping that you've got an HR team or leaders that can be seen to walk their talk. But first, they must understand what is leading to that. And I tell you what, the C-suites or managers or senior managers are the best to deal with once you come from the point of, I like to get the direction of why and where this is happening. Once you understand that, and it's not, in a formation or it's not conforming with what the rule says, then it's easier for you to say, you know what, I think you are crossing the line here. I think you need to be able to take a second look at this before you now decide on what next to do. So first is to understand. But once you understand and realize that, my understanding is not even providing the right direction, then you must be able to. I say that all the time. As much as you want.
Sherry, Sherry, I wanted to highlight from that question because you talked about understanding what is driving that. But in this question, it says the costs that the stakeholder is taking is just to flex their ego. So can we assume that understanding the reason for incurring this high cost, which is impacting the business, is just to flex their ego? So in this instance, the reason is to flex ego. What do you do as HR?
Okay, so just to flex ego and do whatever they want to do. Yeah. From where you sit, it's like saying 6 and 9, right?
Yeah.
I can be saying 6 and you're saying 9. I would need to understand. You can come and tell me Lara, and I'm sure you understand this. You are closer to someone that understands that. They can give 1,000,001 reason why that money has to be spent, right? You're talking to a marketing person or salesperson, and they can give 1,000,001 reason why that has to be spent. But if you just sit and say, look, it's flexing muscle, and the person is doing whatever the person needs to do, you're not understanding. All right? The reason why that is important is you also want to see that the person is saying 9 and not saying 6. Because if you're looking at 6 and say the person is flexing muscle, what it then means is the person says, sorry, I'm not saying you're 6, I'm saying 9. Yes, I know it's not as smooth and straightforward like that, but you must be seen as HR to understand really that the person is flexing muscle. It is when you now understood that you now say, okay, you know what? I think, Oga, this your flexing muscle would not help. And you also need to be able to steer those conversations and those actions in such a way that it can, particularly if you are the person's peer, it becomes a bit tight, it becomes a bit difficult, all right? But you must be able to, deploy your own relationship in stakeholder management to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Hello, Lara.
Yes, thanks. I think Olayinka, who had asked the question, equally states that they're actually shareholders. I think at this point, they're shareholders.
They're shareholders.
you might want to choose your battle.
Lara, if they're shareholders.
I
don't have a work in the bakery.
You might want to choose your battles, honestly speaking. Yeah, because if you say they are shareholders, then choose your battles.
Oh, sorry.
They own the business. Oh, okay. Olayinka further sent another chat. Easier to deal with managers than shareholders, especially when they are European with racist tendencies. Your advice today, one shareholder supports you against me, but tomorrow they join hands to put you out. So if you have this knowledge of the organization, then you have to be very tactical in your approach and then choose your battles.
Absolutely.
There's a battles that could tell what just choose your battles, Areas where you can influence, your core area of influence is what you should focus on. There are some things that are outside your control. If they are the business owners, there's really nothing you can do about it. Just choose your battles. However, if it impacts your work in any way, ensure you have your documentation. Just document, just in case there might be audit issues in the future. It's important to document your any way it impacts your role. Thank you so much, Olayinka, for bringing that. That was meant to be the last question, but we have one from Vivian. Apologies. So, Sherry, if you can take this in 1 minute, then we'll close afterwards. How do you advise a team lead who is perceived as being partial or favoritism by his team members?
Did you use the word perceived?
Yes.
So it makes it difficult. Even though perception is supposed to be reality, it makes it difficult. If you don't have, hardcore evidences, then it becomes a bit difficult. Because sometimes as leaders, you see something different from what the team members are seeing. So, but if you've got hardcore evidences that will say X, Y, Z, in the same scenario, the person treated in different ways, then you can say that. So what I would say is that you need to have evidence to be able to say specifically, this is what is leading to this. And then you can provide the required direction.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I think I also had a similar experience like that a couple of years back, where some members of the team perceived that I had my favorites within the team. And as managers, sometimes subconsciously, we might tend to like the people who are like us. For instance, if you're someone who is a go-getter, you like to deliver, you have a team member who delivers at speed, you would subconsciously gravitate towards
the person naturally.
Yes, somebody that makes your work easier. But as leaders, I think we need to, one, be aware of that and then ask for feedback. People are different. So subconsciously, I was gearing towards that at a particular period in my career when I was working with a large team, until somebody brought it to my attention. And what helped me was 360-degree feedback. So I'll call other members of the team. And I also took some time to understand my team as well. So I understand you, I understand what your strengths are, and I understand what are the areas where you have a couple of weaknesses that I can support you with. And that way, I built individual connection with the individual team members in my team with feedback. So, okay, how can I help you? What is it? A particular team member, I can say one or two things they would understand and immediately run. With another team members, you have to
take a long time,
over and over and over, and you're wondering, hello, so that as leaders, there's a need for us to be inclusive leaders by understanding the different identities and strengths of our team members. And with feedback and communication, try and deal with your respective team members on an individual basis. Don't generalize that everyone will be the same. People are different, but we need to connect with them on an individual basis. So if you're perceived, please ask for feedback. Feedback is really important, but that's a perception that you're getting. Ask for feedback and ask for specific areas that they would like you to improve upon. Okay. Yetunde Shwets, on your hand is up very quickly. You want to contribute to that?
Okay, Lara, I would like to say something too, please.
Okay, after Yetunde. Yetunde Shwets. Okay, Yetunde's hand is down now. All right. Tayo, please go ahead very quickly in 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I listened to this, even though I'm on the wheel as I speak to you. Very briefly, I listened to Sheriff, and some of the things I heard he mentioned was some things that has been of concern to me over a while. Now, I've always asked these questions, and that is why I challenge so many of my HR colleagues. And I said to myself, I really don't want to, operate that way. Now, I've asked these questions severally. In an organization, if there's any where CEO is leaving, MD CEO is leaving, and if they have to appoint a CEO or MD internally, I have not seen where they appointed the HR manager as the MD CEO. And one of the fundamentals around that are some of the things Sheriff mentioned today. I've come to understand several years ago that, realistically, as HR, we talk more in theories. We say some things theoretically that the business is completely far from. And if you are leading from the point of MD CEO, some of the things we say theoretically doesn't apply as MD. And Sheriff mentioned business financials. Understanding the business, speak the language of the language of the drivers, the language of the business, for you to even have an idea of what initiative that works. I'll give you a typical example. At some point in my career, I was made deployed as HR coordinator to manage about 10 HR business partners. Now, when I assumed that office and I started conversation with the commercial team to actually understand what are the challenges they face, why are they not meeting up targets, is there any reasons why they are falling below revenue drive, and all of that. Vis-a-vis why, people, why are they shortchanging the company while they are on the field? Because one of the things we do as HR is we sit in the HQ, we dish out policies, not even understanding why those things are happening, for you to actually be able to deploy the strategy that actually will solve that problem. But instead, we keep firing and we keep hiring, not minding the cost of hiring, not minding learning curve analysis and all of those things. So when I assumed that office, I spoke with the team and I found out. I went to the field myself. I see this thing practically happen. And I came back, I did a position paper to the management. And I let them know, see, as long as we continue this way, there's no how. We will only be firing and be hiring. There's not going to be any solution to these issues. And what are the issues? Now, in every terrain that we have in that organization, there are specific challenges pertaining to that terrain. And our performance management system does not recognize this. Now, what it means is that if I push Lara to Lagos Island, what it means is another 6 months, Lara that's a high flyer in Lekki will suddenly become, suboptimal performer or performing below expectation in Lagos Island. And our performance system does not recognize specific location challenges. And I said, no, we cannot keep running this way. I did a position, but because I understand the business, I went to the field to practically see how it plays out. And I wrote back to the system before we deploy a performance system that is location based, which is what we are using today. The point I'm mentioning here is that I like the fact that Sheriff mentioned that you need to understand the business. You need to understand the fundamentals of your business for you to speak the language of your business, for you to be able to deploy quality and workable initiative and solutions. Most of the time we sit in the comfort of our office as HR and we speak English. We speak a lot of English without necessarily speaking to the business. I see this a lot, and that is why you are not going to be seeing in my organization again. Let me just mention my organization. My MDCO left, and they appointed the chief accounting officer as the MDCO. It tells me a lot. Anytime when I was in unlike gas, it's the same thing. This tells me a lot of things. That we need to come out of the shell of speaking theories. Some of the things we say are not practical, and I'm happy that I had in the last conversation now about the stakeholder. Currently, I manage where you have too many nepotism. You cannot be telling me a model that we work where you have less nepotism or you don't have none. In an organization where you have 80% high as nepotism. So you can see that the model is not going to be theoretical, theoretical based. So you need to understand there's a lot of hidden fundamentals that drive, what solution, your empathy level, emotional intelligence, and vis-a-vis. In all, understanding the business, speak the language of business, solves all of you. And I appreciate hearing this today from Sheriff.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tayo. You have helped us to recap the entire session since we started to say how HR professionals can get to the difference in our organization is largely by understanding the language of our business and speak the language of the business. Let's be in the business. We are not there just for the business. by designing processes and policies, but rather we are involved, we are collaborating, we are clear what direction the business is going, we understand our numbers, and we also understand how our initiatives help to drive the overall strategic imperative for our businesses. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, Sheriff. On this
Lara,
note,
can I just quickly add to that, Lara? I know we're out of time, but
yeah.
I recall you and I had this conversation when we were preparing for this.
Yes.
And I was going to leave us with 6 things, right? One, I said you have to be you. 2, you have to be distinct. 3, you have to be new. All right, you have to be you. You have to be distinct. You is you. You can have mentors, no matter what it is, but it's better to also have people that you admire, so you can take different traits from them. Then you have to be distinct. Being distinct means that when they mention tile in the business environment, you know that this person understands the business. This person can speak the language. That is the way I want us to be as HR people. You have to be distinct. And that distinction should connect to the business. Don't say he's the best HR person. No. It's the best HR person with commercial or business understanding. That's the distinction. The other part is that you have to be new. You have to continuously challenge yourself. The other bit is that you have to be ambidextrous. Being ambidextrous means that you have to develop that capacity to be able to evolve yourself. The 5th is you must be a thought leader. Thought leadership is what Tara is talking about. You must understand how you go to a data center, for instance, and understand what it takes for a data center to operate, at least at the minimal level. And then the final thing is value creation. I told you, Lara, and I think we also need to reemphasize this. We are having HR people as CEO, but it's time to begin to stay in front of that vanguard and have more of our people. Sometimes it's not about, you grow to the end of the career and become the head of HR, and that's the time. What's next? The next thing is that you want to be a consultant. But the question is that it's not enough to be a consultant, because today there are so many consultants out there, and you end up recruiting or you end up doing learning and development. You must sit. You must be able to take business decisions. And that's the trajectory that HR people must be going towards. Because if you don't go towards that, it becomes a bit limiting. And for some people that are very aggressive in terms of what they want to be in the future or what they want to be able to do in terms of impact, it is not ending as head of HR that is the most important thing. Yes, it could be some people's own desire, but we must have more numbers that will run businesses. And I think I agree.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you. On that note, I'd like to invite a member of the participants for the vote of thanks. Thank you. Anyone from the participants who wants to go off mute and just appreciate Sherry right now. Thank you. Thank you so much. We equally have our seniors in the house who like to appreciate. YF is in the house. Thank you, YF, for joining, and other seniors in the house. We appreciate your time. I think,
YF is here.
Yeah, YF is here. YF, it would be nice to hear from you. YF. Okay, I guess YF is multitasking. Okay, yes. All right, Tony, I think your hand is raised, so you can go ahead with the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. It's been a wonderful session. Almost 2 hours now, and it seems like you should not close it.
Honestly.
Thank you. Thank you, Sir Popsin. Thank you all participants. We've really had another session to remind ourselves and put things in perspective. Yes, we are daring to be different, to be distinct, to just to be you, and which really I held on that. You have to be you first before you can even help others in adding value to the organization and getting up there. So we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for dishing it out and looking up towards having over 19 states to be handled. That was so massive, right? Thank you so much. We really learned from you. And we say more grace, more blessings, giving back to So we, so we lower people.
Yeah.
We've learned from you. Yes, we've learned from you. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate. On behalf of all participants, we say a big thank you. Thank you so much,
Thank
Coach
you.
Clara. Thank you all participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Toyin. Thank you. So,
Thank you very much.
Sharif, how can people reach out to you? Yetunde, someone wants to be your mentee, so you want to share your contact details with the participant, and afterwards you come and give us your Buga dance. Oh yeah.
All right, my number is I don't know if someone can help. Okay, it's 0099.
Okay.
0099
009944. Okay.
3004. That's my
3004. On LinkedIn, are you on?
Yeah, Sherry
IG?
Popoola. Yeah, Sherry Popoola. No, just do LinkedIn for now. Sherry Popoola.
Why now? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. On that note, I would like to remind everyone that the whole essence of my HR Story Live Series is for us to learn from other people. And we equally have my HR Storybook that you can get from any of the stores. You can see on the screen, Latana, Robin Heights, or if you want the soft copy, we are equally on Okada Books, where you can read additional stories of 56 HR professionals, so that you can also learn, from their experiences and get to know what worked for them, what didn't work, and in that process also design your own career journey. On that note, I want to appreciate everyone. Thank you so much, Sharif. Thank you, Kemi Popoola, as well. Thank you all our seniors. Thank you all our friends and colleagues in the house. I think we'd like to let everyone know that HR professionals, we equally